This episode is brought to you by Microsoft Azure. Turn your ideas into reality with an Azure free account. Get everything you need to develop apps across cloud and hybrid environments, scale workloads, create cloud-connected mobile experiences, and so much more. Discover what you can create with popular services free for 12 months. Learn more at azure.com. That's AZURE.com. And sign up for a free account to start building in the cloud today.
This episode is brought to you by Honda. When you test drive the all-new Prologue EV, there's a lot that can impress you about it. There's the class-leading passenger space, the clean, thoughtful design, and the intuitive technology. But out of everything, what you'll really love most is that it's a Honda. Visit honda.com/EV to see offers.
At BlueNile.com, you can find endless ways to make your moments sparkle. From classic and timeless jewelry gifts to creating the custom engagement ring of her dreams, all at prices you won't find at a traditional jeweler. And right now, you can save up to 40% on fine jewelry and 25% on engagement ring settings during the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale, going on now. Go to BlueNile.com to shop the Blue Nile Anniversary Sale and save up to 40%. That's BlueNile.com.
Thanks for choosing this free Anfield Index podcast. If you'd prefer to listen to this or any of our other shows without adverts, then now's the time to check out Anfield Index Pro. With AI Pro, you can supercharge your entire listening experience. You'll not only get all of our podcasts without the ads, but you'll have them far faster with our Quick Publish feature available exclusively for subscribers. AI Pro also puts you in the heart of our sound studio, with an option to listen to many of our shows live and interact with the podcasters in real time as the shows are recording. Upgrading couldn't be easier. AI Pro is available on all popular podcast platforms. Just head on over to AnfieldIndexPro.com and get started today.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the latest Anfield Index Under Pressure podcast. My name's Dan Kennett, and with me to review the second win of the season, first one at home over Brentford. You won't believe who we've got on the pod. He's only back, Dr Phil Barts. How are you, Phil? Everybody's been asking about you, mate. How are you?
Yeah, I'm all right. I'm here for one more pod before the move. So, but yeah, nice to do a win, I suppose, in the sunshine. Yeah, you know.
Yeah, This is the last time you will be broadcasting live from your ivory tower.
It is in London anyway. Yeah. So before
you'll be
another set.
It will be broadcasting live from your tropical island paradise.
Yes, that's a much better way of saying it. Yeah, definitely.
That'll be the future one. But yeah, and most important thing, the stats pack is back as well, and it's back online.
Back online. Had to do a few little jiggery pokeries, but
bit of IT support.
Rollback versions, all that jazz. But we are there. We're back on pack.
And which suppliers changed their patterns and they're in their stuff coming in?
All of them. Two of them caused the conflict. So yeah, I had to.
So FOTMob was one, yeah.
FOTMob was one. I had to recode, and now it's just all understat I use. And then another one, there's a package in R that decided to do something which caused an error.
So there you go, suppliers. Don't change your stuff without telling us, please. Give us your release notice in advance. Absolutely. We're trying to scrape this stuff off your site, don't you know? Right, okay. But also returning, but not from an absence. He's been over in the Netherlands for the Grand Prix. It's Hamzah Khalid-Lunat, sports journalist at the Times.
Good evening, everyone, or morning if you guys, listeners, are listening in the morning. I was on F1 duty this weekend, so I didn't actually get to watch that much football. But I've caught up, and after a quite boring first half, I think our game livened up. So there's plenty to get into today.
Just out of 10, the buffet at the F1, and
it was all right. It was all right. I always think
hard man. He's been to some gala lunches this last.
Because I think it's always when you travel and you get food put on for you, I think you should always be quite grateful, because a lot of people that travel to sports events and they don't get that food. So I think it would be rude if you just sort of went, oh yeah, it wasn't that good. But so always sort of grateful if anything's put on.
Nice. And he hasn't travelled anywhere, I don't think, but it's Mr. Simon Brundish, evening Si.
Hey boys. I didn't go anywhere, you're right.
Anyway, but
I actually got to watch a game live for the first time in I bet I watched 3 live league games this season. Not this season, this year.
Yeah.
So
did you prefer that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course.
Let's stay with you then, Si. Right. So let's stay with you and let's talk about that all important lineup and selection.
So we got one change, haven't we? The halftime change. That Ibu comes in, stays. This is probably the predicted lineup for what everybody would have wanted. I don't know. Are we at a first team perspective yet? Are we like? I'm not sure. Grav is very obviously the 6 of Slot's choice now. So this is probably the consensus first team, I would guess, right now.
Yeah, and we're in this block where with this really weird bit, which is not like the rest of the season where we've only got one game a week. And so as soon as we come back after the September international break, there's the concept of first 11, rotation 11. That's not even going to exist, is it? It's just going to be Saturday, Wednesday.
Yeah, exactly. Well, block 2 goes crazy very, very quickly, doesn't it? It's almost like Christmas straight away. So we're going to need to be rotating. You're going to have like 2/3 and a third of position, I would think, as we go forward. So it's just an establishing a way of playing and getting some synergy between relationships. I think that's the bottom line.
Yeah. Barts, welcome back, and you can start off by giving us that wonderful match summary.
Yeah, no problem. Not a bad match summary, to be fair, although there's some differences when you break it down by the different time periods by half. But yeah, overall, 60% possession to 40 for them. I got it at Phil Till 70 versus 30, which is pretty dominant. We were at home, obviously. We had total shots, lost me a little column there, 19 to 8. 6-yard box shots 3-1. Outside the box 4-2 in their favour. So we managed to keep them out of our box for taking their shots. Big chances 4-2. So they actually got big chances this game, which I know from Ipswich was good to see a big 0 in that column for them.
Did you say 2 for Brentford?
I've got 2, yeah, but
weird.
That's what it's pulled out, but I can look at it again. And then I've got 0.49 XG to ours at 3.73, so quite dominant. Post shot 0.68 for them, 5.52 for us. EPV conversion, which is something that I would highlighted in pre-season, was to try and keep it below 150% conversion for the opposition. They were at 76, so again, second game in a row, we kept the opposition's conversion from threat to XG below 100%, which is, I think, is a good sign personally going forward. Passes wise, accuracy 91.4, which I believe is one of the highest on record for us for a long period of time.
It's the highest Premier League one we have on record.
Yeah.
It's the 11th highest in Premier League history, but it's the highest for Liverpool ever.
Yeah.
It got revised down, actually. There was one pass that was counted as errant. Yeah, so it's now the 4th highest, but it was officially the highest, and then went up to revise their stats. It's now the 4th highest.
I think on the game
4th highest LFC or 4th highest all time?
4th highest for Liverpool. We're not close to the all-time.
Okay.
Yeah, so and I think the interesting bit for me in terms of how you split things down, I talk about a field tilt quite a bit, probably annoyingly so, but it was 50-50 at half-time. So the amount of time each team spent in the opposition's final third was equal after half-time. But when we came out after the second half, we changed that to an 82-70-17% split. So it shows you that change again in the second half that Slot's managed to put into place. Seemingly, he's able to have a good half-time talk and changing around. We were very dominant towards played almost entirely in their final third, for the second half, which is, I think, another good sign. Our EPZ, our conversion from threat to XG as well, went up from just about 150 to over 350 in second half. So again, that change of having threat but not doing something with it to create a goal-scoring shot, we tweaked it at half-time and massively came up and had some very good opportunities. Pass rate was pretty consistent at around above 90 for both halves. So, yeah, that's probably a fairly decent summary. In terms of probabilities, we should have actually won 3-0. If you want to be really pedantic about it, 18% of the out of 1,000 sims would have been 3-0. 89% of the time we would have won the game. So I think the result was fairly in terms of the possibilities and what ran an MC was in agreement. So yeah, 2-0 seems about right.
Nice. And just the second big chance, which I wasn't aware of, was the Nathan Collins one in the second half from a corner.
Yeah.
So but both were headers from kind of set piece situations, which is that's just what Brentford do.
Exactly. Restarts.
Yeah. And speaking of what Brentford do, Si, I went to the Brentford game 2 seasons ago at Anfield where we won 1-0. And we did, even though we won, Mo Salah scored. I think it was one of the worst games of football I've ever watched. I don't think it was actually football. It was like something like more like akin to the NFL or something like that. But the first half in this game was just Brentford a unique proposition, aren't they? Really, so
they try to establish. It's like watching old school 1994 rugby. That they try to establish territory. It's almost like kicking to the corners and then hoping the ball's going to go out down there so they get a throw and then bobble in a corner because they want free kicks and corners near the box. That's it. And they're kind of good at getting them, but then there's the high risk, high reward from the way they attack corners. How do you cope with their whole team being in your box? But then how do they cope with their whole team being in your box? And that was I would say it was the defining tactic of the game. It was the single most important thing to happen.
So the Brentford free kick of the Brentford corner from which we scored, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, but the first goal is absolutely crucial, of course, I say, right? Yeah.
Yeah, of course, it changed everything.
So I remember us talking on the pod at Brentford at the end of March, and the end of February last year. And I think we were talking a lot about the opening goal in that game as well. And I think Hamzah said, I think you saw on the lines, Hamzah, he said, to be fair to Brentford, it's the first time that they've conceded from one of their set plays all season. Was that right?
That sounds about right. I can't remember the exact stat, but the conversation sounds very familiar, so I think so, yeah.
So is it just an unfortunate coincidence that they happened against us again for the second game in a row?
I think one thing that emerged to me throughout the game was just how strong Liverpool were in their duels and winning. Well, Salah and Jota in particular. So Salah, for the goals, I just need to pause my replay. He wins the initial contest, and Konate wins the first ball. So You've got a really strong aerial presence there who wins that first contact. Salah's then on it, and Salah's quick, first of all. He gets the ball, I think he's fouled it, and it spills loose, and Jota's there. And one thing I noticed throughout the match is when Liverpool, even especially in the second half, when they're playing direct into Salah and Jota, they would do really, really well to hold off their opponent and get the ball to their teammates. It could be Salah's Jota or Jota's Salah, and it worked really well through the game. I think that's just them using their physical qualities and abilities in a really strong way. And if you do that in moments like this of transition, then you can have the sort of break that did unfold. I think it's a little bit unfortunate that it's against Liverpool, but at the same time, this is a quality that we've seen from Liverpool players over the past 5-6 years. On the break, this is exactly what the forwards love. We used to see it with Mane and Salah, but now we still see it with Salah, but Jota, Diaz as well on the break. He loves that sort of stuff. Free, unstructured games where you can just run and show off those natural abilities, dribbling at speed. There's hardly any defenders can deal with that, and that's why almost every team builds their game plan in a way that Liverpool players don't get that. It just so happens that if you're going to really go for it on corners, you might leave yourself vulnerable to it. I
think just why you described the goal so well, Hamzah, I thought the key one for me was their captain, who's a big lad, Norgard, centre mid. He's a 6, isn't he? Basically, yeah. And he basically kind of he doesn't shit out of the challenge, but he sort of doesn't go in full blooded at all. He sort of turns his body, doesn't he? And then he just loses the duel when we're past him straight away, right?
Yeah, that's right. So Salah is on the edge. It sort of reminds me a bit of the one that Liverpool conceded against Manchester United in the 4-3 where Elliott sort of should have committed a bit more than he did, and I think he mixed himself up with Endo. But this is a bit worse than that. You're right, Norgard. He just sort of dangles his leg.
Yeah.
I think he's wary of. Well, first of all, Salah's just got to the ball quicker than him, which you didn't expect, and that's because Salah's quick, and quick players make players that aren't as quick do silly things.
He got a yellow card at the time. Norgard.
The ball bounces off, and then Jota's there for the second, and then Liverpool on the break. Sorry, sir.
I think it's a couple of really interesting things are that our change in setup is significant in that we're playing with two dominant aerial forces in the middle of the goal now, rather than one at each post, and then the back one always being Virgil, and then the centre forward in the middle. Now we're going for two lads that are free and they're there to dominate the air. And they seem to be dominating beautifully so far. I think they've missed one corner out of 7 so far. And in this particular game, Konate, I thought Konate might have had his best Liverpool game.
Yeah, he was great. Yeah.
In the first half, he had 3 really significant aerial wins inside our box, 2 inside the 6-yard box.
He was 100% on duels. Yeah, he was 100% on duels.
Yeah. He was an absolute monster. It was brilliant. And I appreciate anybody that listens to this knows that I'm not a fanboy of Konate.
Nope. You described him as a player who likes to put out his own fires.
Yeah. He doesn't play within the system, but this was playing to his strengths and closing down lots of big spaces that he didn't need to, so he can just rely on his absolute ungodly athleticism in a smaller space, which should be a superpower for Liverpool if we can control these spaces. And he was brilliant. So fair play to him for that. I thought in the first half he was probably the most important Liverpool player.
Yeah, I was going to say that I've just added to that. Something about it this season is how much EPV or threat an individual player faces.
Okay.
Konate faced the most of our entire team, and actually only lost 0.1%.
This sounds to me, Barts, exciting stuff that you might be on your way to sort of recreating pitch control here then, by reversing XT.
It's a few little tweaks, but it still has to be an event. I'm not quite in the moment of doing stuff, but Konate faced the most actions, if you like, that would have created threat for the opposition.
Nice.
And he came out on top. He didn't get 100%. He lost one out of 12. Is I think pretty outstanding, to be fair, considering the Trent was in for periods of the game as well, so he'd have been left isolated for a period of time. But yeah, just to add to that context of what Si was saying, I thought it was an outstanding game from Konate. Really did.
Yeah. I think it's really all duels aren't the same. No. And if you're winning a duel that's inside the box, that's of a higher value. And that's what he was doing. He made 3 really good headers where if he hadn't made them, there was somebody there to head the ball into our goal.
100%.
I don't need a VPN. I've got nothing to hide. This is what I used to tell myself before I hooked up with LibertyShield.com. Not only is my home internet now fully encrypted, but I can now access all the websites I want, whenever I want, and do so from absolutely anywhere. As a Liverpool fan, I love to know I can now watch every match, regardless of whether it's on UK TV or not. My Liberty Shield VPN makes sure nothing is blocked and guarantees me super fast streaming speed throughout that match. You can get connected right now with their software package, which includes a 48-hour no-obligation free trial and instant access to their apps for Apple, Android, Fire TV, PC, Mac and Android TV. Or go a step further like I have and get one of their pre-configured VPN routers. These small but powerful devices allow you to easily connect every device in your home to VPN, making it the perfect solution for smart TVs, Mac boxes and games consoles. Visit LibertyShield.com today and use coupon code AIVPN25 to get 25% off at checkout.
And that's a key thing that I don't know if our other centre-backs have been particularly great at. Matip's been the second best for sure. I've been waiting to see this kind of thing from Konate. And I was really pleased. The second thing that from the setup is that typically Mo is the furthest away from our box. And this season so far, it's Diaz. Diaz has been the highest up the pitch. It is the highest stack up the pitch from corners, but that we're defending. Maybe Mo's better at passing to unleash Diaz. Diaz is more likely to carry. I do wonder how many I'm fascinated by it within the game that Slot has a reputation. The more coaches I talk to that have known him, that have known about him, whatever, that he has this crazy analytical, not analytical from a data point of view, which he's not against data at all, but from watching games, like he is constantly watching more and more and more and more film, and then creating situations to counteract the opposition, to force stress on the opposition. But he has this insatiable desire to tactically outwit the opposition, and he needs more information and videos from them, and also from our own players. And I wonder if he saw last season things that used to frustrate us as Liverpool fans, as doing our pod, watching Liverpool games, that it really felt like our own coaches weren't seeing. And that's that Diaz was really, I don't know if good is the right word. I think a common action of Diaz would be to carry the ball a significant period. But as my wife would say, he's a dilly-dallyer. And he is not an efficient carrier of the ball. He might get you 30 yards up the pitch, but what happens 30 yards up the pitch isn't adding value in the way that typical metrics, deeper metrics would, the expected threat. You carry the ball 30 yards up the pitch, you are more likely to get a positive outcome. But what would happen is he would wait, he would have 3 touches too many, and then we'd end up in often a negative transition, or he'll play the ball back over our halfway line, back to one of our defenders, and we'd be waiting on defence has already got back. So we'd have to rebuild again instead of being like a rapier threat. So I wonder if, in the long ramblings of a Brundish observation, that Mo is a way bigger passing threat. So if he can put him on the edge of the box or just inside the box, so he's going to get knockdowns, he can carry the ball 10 metres, or he can make a 40-yard pass, and all Diaz has got to do is run onto it. So the outcome is going to be much more valuable for Liverpool than the other way around, because the other way around, Diaz is going to run 30 yards and then not pass it to Mo. So I think this is a really smart, I don't know if this is just luck, but I think this is a really smart tactical insight into what to how he's reconfiguring the team using their own skills. So in a way that didn't exist before.
So you think that basically what you're saying, this Slot is a real analyst, a proper analyst, yeah? Yeah. I
think he's got insight.
In his style.
I think he's a bit of a tactical savant.
Interesting.
Do you know when Klopp joined? Right, yeah. It was all like Buvac was a great coach, and then Kravitz was the tactical genius. Yeah,
yeah.
So
Kravitz is video
analysis.
Yeah.
And Slot does that. He does this himself. So you're removing a middleman, maybe, or maybe it's just a fresh pair of eyes.
Yeah, slightly more modern as well. Modern. But the first half wasn't the most attractive game. I noticed we haven't discussed the ball in play was always the theme of previous Liverpool Brentford games, how limited the ball in play time was. But what else did you pick up in your stats pack and the eye test in the first half?
I was actually just going to add a little bit more to what Si said as well.
Okay.
If you look at the pass connections of Mo, I've added EPV this evening as well. So you can see Mo's pass connections, his top 3 were Mac, Dom and Trent, and there's significantly more EPV on his pass connections than any other player on the pitch in terms of those connections. Bar Trent, should we say, most of them are 0.03 or whatever else. Mo is 0.5, But yeah, they're a large amount of threat he's associated with, the connections he's made, which I think is partly what I was saying in terms of it. Mo's threat on the ball as a passer is more valuable than asking Diaz to do that. And I also think Diaz's runs are better this season in terms of out to in rather than completely staying wide to try and isolate a 1v1. For the goal, he comes in out to in, takes out the defender completely, and then just has to focus on finishing. Whereas last season he'd have been, I'll take this player on, and then I'll work out what shot I'm going to take. So I think it's just Slot's been very clever. And I think Si did this on one of our chats early season is, yes, he's a street baller, but with a street baller, if you can get him to understand instructions and simplify his game, he might become really effective. And Slot might just have found a way to get that out of Diaz.
Can I just say that a street baller doesn't get 100% pass completion, 26 out of 26? I mean, no. Can we just simply have a discussion about how Hamzah, come to you first, right? Stay with Barts, then we'll go to Hamzah. How you can get Luis Diaz at 100% pass completion and Dominic Szoboszlai as your attacking midfielder with 97% pass completion, whilst being so dangerous in attack. How have we managed to actually do that?
I think some of that is the simplification of a game in certain areas, being really specific with the role you're asking them to do. But the passing isn't just about the player on the ball. It's also about the guy you're trying to pass
triangles,
to, making the right options. And I think at times last season, we said that. We were just damn squibby certain times. We were so flat in our attacking play, unstructured, that it's really hard to make a pass if no one's giving you the angle. Whereas now, one of the things, I don't see 2 games in, but what I've really liked is the outside-inside run, Dom doing the inside darts into the hot zone, leaving still at the centre wide. Those kind of things all create angles for you to be able to pass the ball to. And also a lot of the set plays are working better. So where Dom would go down to touchline, pull the ball back into an area, there's actually a player made the run into that area. Whereas I think parts of last season, we just got a bit lethargic and weren't quite running the playbook as we used to. So I think it's a combination where I think the roles are better defined for the players. I think Si's right. Slot's looked at these players and gone, I need Diaz doing A, B. That's all I want him to do. I want Dom to do C, D, E, and F. And that's all I want him to do. I don't want him to carry the piano, if you like. I need him to actually use his skill set. And then with that, he then said to the guys around the right, you need to be here to receive this pass. There's a lot more structure, I think, in our attack and play. A bit like we were when Klopp first arrived, to be honest with you. But I think that's part of it. It's a 2-part. It's not just the player on the ball. It's also the receiver is making the right angles to get those passes in the right areas as well.
Yeah. Hamzah, so typically the further you get up the field, the lower your pass completion becomes. Forwards are typically around the 80% mark, I think, over seasons and stuff like that. And your thoughts on that same question, Diaz and Szoboszlai being particularly high?
I
whilst dangerous.
I agree with what Barts has said, and I'd just add as well, it comes from style. So Liverpool last season, there's a stat called direct speed, which is a measurement of meters per second that you move the ball towards your opponent's goal. Last season, it was 1.93 on average, and that sort of compares with teams like Everton, 1.96, Forest, 1.97, Brentford, 1.95. For context, Man City last season were at 1.38 and Arsenal 1.61. So what you can with that stat alone, you can tell that Liverpool were moving the ball towards their opponent's goal line very quick and similar to actually very direct teams. If you do that, you are just going to be more likely to lose the ball, especially if you're doing it in the final third. You're going to have turnovers. You're going to have a lot of counter-pressing situations, which was part of the game. That was part of the game design under Klopp. You play direct, you play for counter-presses, and that is an oversimplification because there was a lot of complex possession sequences that we did see over the past 8-9 years under Klopp. But this season, Liverpool have reduced that number from 1.93 down to 1.4. And okay, we've only had 2 matches, and the 2 matches have been against Brentford and who was that the first time we played again?
Ipswich.
2 teams that you expect Liverpool to be quite slow against and not be that direct against just because of the nature of who they are. So maybe that number will go up. But at the same time as well, if you look at the passes per sequence as well, that number has grown from 4.17 last season to 4.83 this season, which is a bit more sort of bit closer to City's, which is 5.61 this season. So yeah, you've got this stylistic change, which means that Liverpool are not taking as many not forcing as many vertical passes as they used to, or having a lower share of purely vertical passes. There are more passes in general. I guess we'll see more passes in general over, and that number sort of tick up. But yeah, I think it's that stylistic change. So you have a lot more.
But at the same time, Hamzah, we haven't eliminated the lightning fast counters. We've seen them in both games. Yeah, yeah. So it's almost like the Swiss Army knife is back almost. Yeah.
Well, yeah. As in that was one of the interesting things about appointing Slot. The idea that the club had was that this guy isn't a massive departure from Klopp. What he is someone that appreciates the sort of slower positional play principles, but still understands the importance of directness where possible. That still, so in this game, for example, right, Liverpool switch the ball a lot. If you compare Liverpool to Arsenal rarely switch the ball, because the idea that they have, if you look at someone like Declan Rice, who used to switch the ball loads at West Ham, he doesn't do it very much at all for Arsenal anymore. And because they have a concern that if you switch the ball, you're switching to an underloaded side, and if you lose that situation, you might get counter-attacked. We still have that tolerance for risk. Our tolerance for risk is not as high as it was under Klopp, but it's still pretty high. We still will play those attacking passes because we've got players that can do it, and we want to celebrate them. We want to give them that opportunity to. If Trent sees a pass forward or Salah sees a pass forward, the manager's going to say, you play that pass because I trust you, I trust your quality, and I trust your judgment in that moment. Don't worry too much about the structure in that case. Play that pass, and we'll try and use that to the best of our ability. Other teams are a bit more sort of conservative in that way. That, again, it's just style. But I think that helps explain at least why our pass completion rate has gone up. And I think we'll continue to see it in this sort of high sort of area. But again, the key context is we're playing against Brentford and Ipswich in the first two matches. So the numbers that I've mentioned over the first two games might change over the next few matches too.
Superb. Si, similar theme. You created possession control. We use it. We love it. Luis Diaz had a positive possession control for this match.
Yeah, how can you be a goal-scoring threat and a dribbling force that he is? Yeah. And he created the most chances in the game, 4 chances.
Yeah, he won us the match, basically. Goal and assist.
Yeah, goal and assist. And he won the ball more times than he lost it.
Incredible.
It is incredible. And it's
have we ever seen that before?
Unlike Diaz.
Yeah, it is. Have we ever seen that before? A positive possession control for a winger?
Not that I know of. Like Mo is usually considerably down from there because he plays threatening passes all the time, which he did in this game. So I thought his role changed from Ipswich, Mo's. He was the top of the spear against Ipswich, and his progressive meters per pass was 1.4, and then this is back to 5.6. So he's obviously deeper.
I think he did have a very fun duel with Aja all match, though, which he was considering he's like a foot taller than him. He really does give as good as he gets, doesn't he, Mo?
Oh my God! It was like an Arabic Smurf wrestling Hulk Hogan, and it was mostly illegal, the stuff that was happening to him, but he was just shrugging him off anyway. Yeah, it was crazy. It was brilliant. Mo had the most progressive passes in the game and the most progressive receptions in the game, which is fairly unique and has only happened 3 times in the Premier League in 2 seasons.
Wow. Wow. Anything else you want to talk about on that first half, Si?
Yeah, I made, well, the beauty of me watching it live, I was watching it whilst making notes. Interestingly, people obviously don't get our group. Our group, most of you guys are loving what Trent's doing this season, yeah?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I'm not against this, but I don't. In our group, it goes that basically I sound like a curmudgeon because I'm not
because you're
quite.
That's why you sound like a
because of
curmudgeon.
me. But also, I'm not buying the Trent Kool-Aid. I still. There was a perfect example. There's like 62 minutes in or something like this, and Trent picks the ball up on the halfway line, and he just plays a pass to Jota that in the middle. Instead of slotting, the right ball would have been to the overload down to Szoboszlai, who was in behind down the right-hand side for a pullback. But he didn't. He played a more fanciful ball to Jota, which was much harder to create a chance from. But the commentator was like, oh my God, what a great pass, because it was Trent. And we're in that zone right now that people are, oh, how amazing his passing is. Like, every pass is unbelievable. So my point is, I don't think every pass that he's making is unbelievable. And when I'm giving him praise, bear in mind, I think he's been the best right back in the world for 5 years. When I'm giving him praise, it's because I feel like he means it. He deserves it. And in this game, in the first 15 minutes of this game, he made 3 interceptions in our box. And at one point, he flew into 2 blocks in 12 seconds just before we scored, actually, which he just wasn't doing at all last season. His effort, he made 3 covering runs behind. You talk about his recovery runs, covering runs behind the defence. And he just wasn't doing that at all last season. So, sign me up to this version of Trent. He's still prone to making a Hollywood pass when there's a more effective pass on. Maybe that's the worst part about Trent. Like, it's not the end of the world. If him making a Hollywood ball that people ooh and ah at like 3 times a game, but he's making covering tackles and working his nuts off. Jesus Christ, sign me up to that. But defensively, he was really, really good in this game.
He was, and that was something we also mentioned on the Ipswich pod, so long may that continue. I would just say on Trent, he's got the highest XA or XT, which is Opta's XT, but confusingly called XA. Highest XA in the league with 1.5, despite only playing 1.5 full matches. And he's 0.3 higher than anybody else so far, and he's also got the third highest expected assists. So, yeah, very, very good start to the season for Trent in terms of how much danger and threat he is creating.
Hey guys, it's Eddie Gibbs from Anfield Index here. I hope you're enjoying this podcast, and I'm sorry to call time on the show before it ends. In the current climate, it's tougher than ever before to offer podcasts for free. At Anfield Index, we produce over 75 free shows every month, which I'm confident is unparalleled in the LFC sphere. Whilst we'd love to offer everything for free, the production costs now make this impossible. That said, we don't want to follow the model of other channels and lock all of our content behind a paywall. So what we've decided to do is to continue offering every show for free, but cut that offering to 30 minutes on our longer shows. So to get all of our shows in full and enjoy the best of everything we have to offer, we really hope you'll consider supporting the channel and signing up at AnfieldIndexPro.com. For about the price of 1 cup of coffee, you'll get every podcast in full with 0 ads. You'll also get access to our LFC VIP community, where you can enjoy live podcasts, engage with our podcasters, and chat with other Reds in real time. So that website again, AnfieldIndexPro.com. Join today.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.